Hello there. Welcome to Progressive Discussions. This is Progressive Discussions, and I am here coming to you live from the Newsletter Censored Research Center in northeastern New Jersey. I am your host for Progressive Discussions, James P. Madonna, and I am with my co-host and mentor, the illustrious, the one and only, the Pope of the Internet, and the founder of Newsletter Censored in 1977, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. How are you today, sir?
Excellent, excellent.
Very good. Now, it happens to be Saturday, January 28th, 2012, okay, the infamous 2012. And the last time you saw us was Wednesday, because last Saturday we couldn't do the show because of a snowstorm. So we did it Wednesday. So this is a new week, so we are here on Saturday. And it is very bright and sunny out, and clear as a bell, and nice and dry, which is great for a change. This is me prop. It is a Blackthorn weapons grade Irish shillelagh imported from Ireland. Okay, not to be confused with the walking stick shillelagh, because when the English banned the weapons grade shillelaghs, the Irish got around the law by making a walking stick out of it. But this is the other kind, the kind for cracking people on the head, or maybe if you like nuts, you know, cracking walnuts. Makes an excellent nutcracker. Okay, it's like an Irish gavel. Anyway, it helps me emphasize many things, and I enjoy waving it around. Dr. Bill, before you start with the newspaper articles, because I have very little to say at the beginning, there's no monologue here this Saturday. Mr. Slimy Salamander himself, Newt Gingrich, the Gingrinch that stole Christmas, he was talking nonsense, actually talking crazy, not too long ago. He was, let me try to do this without cracking up. Newt Gingrich was blabbering about and rambling on about wanting to colonize the moon,
Yes.
and claim it for the United States
Yes.
of America. Now, isn't that typical of a right-wing conservative Republican to have that European colonization imperialistic mentality, to want to, either by extortion or force or whatever, claim as much real estate as they possibly can? And now he wants to claim planets. After, you know, he wants to claim the moon as property of the United States.
Actually,
And he wants to build colonies on the moon?
I'm not sure whether it's by treaty or what, but it has been an understanding that space belongs to no one.
I thought the planet,
No country.
I thought the space, the universe, the galaxies, the
Belongs
planets
to God.
belongs to God. Well, actually, the planet Earth is supposed to belong to God, and the wealth and natural resources, in reality, belong to God, and God commands that they are shared. But don't tell that to a Republican that's supposed to be so close to God and so holier than thou. Now, Newt Gingrich wants to colonize the moon. So it's okay to waste. So to them, helping the poor and the middle class, or the lower middle class, especially the ones that don't have a job anymore, helping the needy in America is a waste of taxpayers' money. But trying to colonize the moon is a wise way to spend taxpayers' money in Newt Gingrich's mind.
Well, maybe that's Newt Gingrich's answer to the poor, is to put them up on the moon.
Maybe the so instead of starving them out like maybe Christie would want to do, and taking away all the food supplies, Newt Gingrich's answer would be to ship the poor to the moon and have them colonize them. In other words, it's like Botany Bay with Australia, right? The British use Australia as a penal colony.
Yeah.
And he wants maybe Newt Gingrich wants to do that to the poor, but I mean, typical greedy.
Well, he wants the poor kids in the neighborhoods to become janitors, clean up the schools.
Oh, to pay for their little drop in the bucket welfare and food stamps that the poor.
Well, he wants to teach them the work ethic.
Oh, so cleaning somebody's shit out of a toilet and pushing a broom and pushing a mop is something that these kids should be proud of, right?
Well, they should, because they're never gonna make it to the big time.
No, because they don't have any breaks. Society doesn't have breaks for poor kids. You know what the poor kids will do? My prediction is the poor children would look at this little requirement by the Republicans, by Newt Gingrich, and you know what the poor kids would say in the ghetto? They'll say, fuck Newt Gingrich and the Republicans, and fuck the government. I'm going to join a gang, and I'm going to sell drugs. I'm not going to push a broom. I'm not going to clean some shit out of somebody's toilet bowl and be a janitor. That's exactly what they'll say. I'm not saying it's the right choice. I'm not condoning it, but that's what the kids are going to say. You think American kids, even poor kids, are going to be a janitor and clean shit out of somebody's toilet?
However, they have an answer for that.
Yeah, what's that?
It's called privatized prisons.
There you go. Go ahead, privatize.
Put them in there.
That's it.
Okay.
That's all.
Do what the law put in by these idiots says. You go to a privatized prison.
That's all. Well, I refuse to do it. So, would they allow me to do internet talk radio from a privatized prison?
No.
Hey, at least I'll get 3 squared meals and health care, right?
No, they want you to pay for your stay.
Like it's a hotel?
That's correct.
But it's not a hotel.
Well, hey.
They want you to pay everything for everything except the families and children of the fat cats and the Republicans, the Republican conservative politicians. Okay, their kids deserve the best of everything.
That's
but
right.
if you happen
Keep
to
the
be
money at the top.
But if you happen to be poor, you got to pay for everything out of pocket, even your health care and retirement. Anyway, they know you're not going to be able to pay for anything. So this is a way of suppressing the mainstream masses and the poor. They know you're not going to climb the ladder of success because the opportunity is not there for you. This sounds like something else we discussed. Privatized education by Christie, about privatizing the schools. So in reality, only the wealthy will get a good education.
That's how it once was thousands of years ago, and that's what they want again.
So they want only the rich kids.
They do not want participation by the little people.
So only the rich kids will be well educated. And does this include a public...
I don't know about well...
No, because these standards
But they're the only ones who will have the opportunities to go to school.
American academia has been dumbed down.
That's correct.
So, but does this include public school education?
Well, they want to get rid of public school education.
They want to privatize
charter school.
They want to
privatize everything.
Everything.
That's correct.
Everything. You name it, they want to privatize it, which means, and this includes the flat tax concept, which all means...
It includes the no tax concept.
No tax.
They don't want any taxes.
Okay, no they want to get rid of the internal revenue, right? They want to have this flat tax, which means that the fat cats will be assured of never paying any taxes. The wealthy won't pay any taxes. The middle class will continue to carry the burden of taxation.
Well, there won't be any middle class.
No, they'll be poor.
It'll be the 1% and the 99.
And the 99ers will eventually be enslaved.
Correct.
Which is a little bit worse than the poor Chinese making 31 cents an hour at Foxconn. Remember that show? Foxconn? So you'll have no middle class, and the poor, the middle class, well, I'm sorry, the masses, which will become poor, will not have an education because they can't pay to have their kids go to school, and they will be destitute, and this is how they want it. It's like, what is it? What's the old day? The feudalistic oligarch?
They want to return to those times.
The imperialist family, and you have the serfs and the peasants, and this is how your wonderful right-wing Republican conservatives, this is exactly what they want, and you idiots fall for it hook, line, and sinker by voting in a Republican Congress last November of 2010, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, 2010.
They're all up in 2012.
Right, this is it. This is what you voted for. You believe the propaganda. I know people personally that are not in a high income tax bracket, and they believe this bullshit about corporations are the job creators. They're going to create jobs in third world countries. In mainland China, where the people are making a lousy, despicable, insulting 31 cents an hour at companies like Foxconn. This is what they want. But you keep on believing it. All right, first article.
Companies like Foxconn who make Apple products.
Yeah, your hero. I mean, God rest his soul. I feel bad that he had cancer and died prematurely. But people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. I mean, you know what's funny, Dr. Bill? So many Americans kiss up to and, look up to anybody who amasses a great fortune. They automatically assume that
they're smart. They assume that they know more than us.
Monetary gain in massive amounts means that they deserve respect automatically, and they feel that, well, they must have done certain things right, otherwise they wouldn't be that rich. Well, guess what?
That's correct.
All I have to say to that, people, is listen carefully. Ill-gotten gains. And the Bible distinctly says, he who makes haste to be rich shall not be innocent.
Also, another aspect of this system, this perverted
That's right.
capitalistic system, is that nowadays, where education is costing so much for kids, the big boys have found a way to, what they do now is there's a website that you can go to.
Yeah.
And you can sign up or whatever, and what is happening is that guys with the moolah,
right,
they are getting, most of them men, getting young ladies, or if their proclivity is homosexual, I guess they get young men, to sign up, and these wealthy people will pay for some of their education.
What's the catch?
The catch is to be able to have a date, be able to have a companion, and be able to have sex whenever they choose.
In other words, a sex slave, a concubine?
Well, they are paying them to get them through school.
And they legally can get away with this?
So far.
And so they can do that.
See, but this is all...
But poor Herman Cain went through the ringer with the sexual harassment, but these people can get away with doing that.
Well, it's... look, when you got the moolah, you can do basically practically anything you want.
What about the term double standards?
What about the term prostitution?
There you go. Prostitution.
I mean, let's get real. Let's get rid of the law, or
And conservatives are so dead set against illegalizing things like drugs and prostitution, and they're so holier than thou when an adult sex store, adult retail sex store opens up in a neighborhood. They want to close it down right away. They want to close down, let's say, a go-go bar.
You know, they're so holier than thou.
Unless they have a share in the go-go bar, of course.
Unless they
can make a buck from it. Believe me.
Right. Believe me, I bet a lot of these Republican politicians have heavy-duty skeletons in their closet, and some of them might have really perverted sexual fetishes that people don't know about. And anytime somebody is a little too overboard about morality, you know what I mean? I think they're hiding something.
They usually are.
They usually are, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Article.
Governor Christie has been known to shoot off his mouth, and he did it on Tuesday. He fired a cannon.
What better way to start off the show with a Christie article? Of course, he shoots off his mouth. Look, you ever notice that fat kids are very obnoxious and loud? Fat kids, chubsy-ubsies, and then they grow up to be obnoxious, overbearing fat adults.
In an effort to justify his call for a public referendum on same-sex marriage, the governor suggested that blacks would have achieved equal rights through the popular vote rather than through civil disobedience and protests. What an idiot.
Oh, yeah, the popular...
What an idiot. Blacks shouldn't even vote at that time.
The popular vote. Oh, sure.
There was a poll tax. Blacks were kept away from the polls. Come on, Christie. Grow up, you idiot.
Christie doesn't have all his facts, does he?
He doesn't have any facts.
He doesn't have any.
Obviously.
I mean, he's obviously...
Somebody wrote the words for him. You know?
It's obviously he's a very intelligent man, but I don't think he really believes that statement he makes deep down. I think he really knows what happened. It's a bunch of bullshit.
The fact of the matter is, I think people would have been happy to have a referendum on civil rights rather than fighting and dying in the streets in the South, Christie said. The governor ignores that one of the reasons civil rights activists took to the streets was because they could not get to the polls. Jim Crow laws, intimidation, prevented blacks from exercising their constitutional right to vote. Communities that segregated lunch counters, public bathrooms, schools, and residential communities would have turned out en masse to vote for equal rights. It is an outrageous statement. If Christie wants to make his case for a public referendum on same-sex marriage, fine. We disagree, but we respect his right to his point of view. But it is offensive to all minorities who have had to fight at times with their very lives on the line for equal rights in America to suggest that the ballot initiatives would have resulted in the same outcome, particularly for blacks in the South. Try telling that story, Governor, to people who face down dogs, lynch mobs, and physical intimidation. Try telling that to Southern blacks who fought with elected officials, including governors, to be treated as equal human beings. You want to usurp the legislature, Governor? You can try. If you want to redefine American history, you will fail.
Absolutely.
And I will add my own aside.
Yes.
Shut up!
Absolutely correct, that article. So Christie, would it be fair to assume that Christie was disrespecting the civil rights movement?
Absolutely. He was making you guys trivializing. You guys didn't have to go through all that trouble and etc. You just put it to a vote.
So Mr. Christie believes that life, all of the issues of life have push-button, quick, instant answers. Everything's in black and white, not shades of gray.
Right, and the big boys will allow things to happen in your favor.
Oh yeah.
Sure, tell that to the unions too in this country. That fought and died.
That's like saying the FDA and the U.S. Department of Agriculture has your best interest when it comes to your health.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right. It's
bullshit. It's total bullshit. He disrespected the whole civil rights movement. Well,
it's because at the base of republicanism is that racism. They can't get away from it. They can't get away from it. They can sell it in all kinds of nice terms and this, that, and the other thing. But they're racist.
May I say Arizona, racial profiling? May I say Republicans like the goofball Basil Marceau, and other right-wingers down south that want to arrest and immediately deport anybody who looks Latin in America? They want to pass a law to have the right to immediately deport you, even if you are not Mexican, and let's say even if you're a Dominican or Puerto Rican person born and raised in New York City, and you go to Arizona on vacation, and that means you have tan skin, they can racially profile in let's say Alabama or any of those states, and just take you and deport you to Mexico.
Yeah.
Sounds like racism to me.
Racism, and they all want to get back to the old days of the little despot sheriff. They certainly don't want to go back to. They want to go back to Boss Hogg instead of Andy Griffith.
Yeah, Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane, the corrupt sheriff and the person who controlled the county. Usually some plantation. Sid, plantation. That's Foghorn Leghorn. Sid, I own this county. Let me not.
I'm the colonel.
I's the colonel? Or
they're always usually colonels.
Or if you're in Brooklyn, you say the coinel.
The coinel.
The coinel. The coinel.
Let's go to the coinel and get some chicken.
I like Popeyes better. I've had Church's chicken, but I like Popeyes the best. You get me hungry now.
Never had Church.
Let me not forget about...
What about Roy Rogers? Or
Roy Rogers? I wish...
what was that other chicken?
Wish Roy Rogers...
on Seinfeld.
Kenny Rogers Roasters.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Florida is loaded with Kenny Rogers Roasters. Don't get me wrong. The chicken tastes absolutely delicious, but they're the tiniest little friggin' pigeons. Like Boston Market, they're microscopic. I don't know where they find these chickens, but
game hens. Maybe they're game hens.
They're Cornish game hens. But anyway, I want to add one more thing to the racism and racial profiling of the right wingers. Los Angeles Police Department was guilty on racial profiling and deporting Latins
for years and years and years.
Yeah. So it's not just.
Come on, boy.
It's not just the Southern Bible Belt, I got to throw that in sarcastically. Red Bible Belt states. Yeah, Bible Belt states. Oh yeah, real Christian.
Oh yeah.
They're hate mongers, right?
Sure, if they can get away with it blatantly, but usually it's somehow sugar coated, somehow covered over,
Yeah, it's sugar coated by politicians like the big smiling. Well, she's not in the picture anymore. Michelle Bachmann's and all the rest of them.
Newt Gingrich is getting away with a lot of it lately too.
Well, Newt Gingrich is
especially in South Carolina, where he can appeal to them down there. Because they still don't like the outcome of the Civil War.
So
they still want blacks to be.
You see how quick the Bible Belt South Carolina people forget about Newt Gingrich's immorality.
Yeah.
Even though he's an expert now on morality, and we got to get the country back to the moral compass with the moral compass. Right. Meanwhile, he wanted to have a threesome with his former wife.
Yeah, and he's been forgiven by God. He's got a bat phone to God, you said, okay?
He's got a stovepipe.
That's correct.
Stovepipe and a bat phone to God. All right, next article.
Republican presidential hopefuls are blatantly focused on advancing economic policies that favor the wealthy over most Americans, giving voters in 2012 election a clear choice, Vice President Joe Biden said. Biden said there's no discussion in the Republican camps about compassionate conservatism or solutions for Medicare or education.
Compassionate conservatism?
Yeah, there's none. Well, that's why George W. Bush, because there is no compassion in conservatism,
there is none.
That's why he had to use that term when he was running.
It's a joke.
I'm a compassionate conservative.
It's a joke, man.
You know?
It's an absolute joke.
The reason I think this race is going to be so clear is that for the first time in my career, Republicans aren't hiding the ball, he said. They're putting forward a political philosophy that is absolutely straightforward. The way it's going to work is to not only keep the tax cuts for the wealthy, but increase tax cuts for the wealthy. And the way to move forward is to deregulate Wall Street. Biden said Republicans want to unshackle businesses by eliminating regulations.
Unshackle? Yeah, allow them to be more dishonest and rip you off.
That's what we did. And you see what we got in 2008.
And may I also say, fracking and polluting our environment, allowing corporations to pollute the air and the waters?
Oh, well, yes.
That's deregulation.
But doing so would shift risk to the average American instead. He argued that reasonable regulation of business in Wall Street is necessary.
Yeah.
No kidding. Biden was making his 7th trip to New Hampshire as vice president. Obama carried New Hampshire in 2008 general election, but the state is expected to be heavily contested in the fall. Biden said after years of economic distress, Americans are tired of being tired, and added that he's tired as well. I am tired of the naysayers. I'm tired of people telling me America isn't going to come back, he said. We start off better positioned than any nation in the world to be the dominant economic force of the 21st century. I think God would have a different opinion there, but...
of course he would have a different opinion. He would have a different opinion about right-wingers cutting social programs from the poor and taking Social Security away from senior citizens. He would have something to say about gay bashing and, and hatred.
Well, he has a lot to say on those things, but obviously these people who claim to have bat phones to him don't listen.
Just like God has a lot to say about the right-wing fundamentalists trying to rewrite the Bible. He definitely has a lot to say about that. He has a lot to say about the rich not wanting to help the poor. He has a lot to say about that. It's in the Bible. So anyway, what's the next?
Parts that they have never read.
No, they don't know it. They don't know it. They don't know it. They tell you they know it, but point things out to them. See what answer you get from them. Point Scripture out to them.
The convictions of 2 Garfield, New Jersey masseuses on prostitution charges were upheld on appeal on Monday. Hong Yu-hai had admitted sexually servicing customers at the River Spa massage parlor on River Drive in Garfield, but later appealed the conviction, arguing that the city's definition of sexual conduct was unconstitutional. According to the second woman, Bo Lu, who operated the parlor.
Two Ball Hung Lo. Two Ball Hung Lu. Two Ball Hung Lu. All right, go. Hey, Garfield is 1 town away from us. I didn't even know this took place. Two Ball Hung Lu.
Both were arrested on prostitution charges.
1 Ball Hung Lu.
In November 2008. After one of them propositioned an undercover police officer. You
know what? They probably refused to pay off the Garfield local police politicians. Yeah. That's probably why they got busted.
A customer interviewed by police at the parlor also admitted receiving a hand job
hand job is not sex.
A hand job.
If you ask Bill Clinton, a hand job would be, it's like nothing. It's like a kiss, right?
From masseuses at the spa.
Hand job. Yeah, they make a big deal out of. New Jersey even makes a big deal if you touch a go-go dancer when you give her a tip. New Jersey says that they can close down the go-go bar. What a bunch of puritanical nuts. Anyway.
He got a hand job at several times, several occasions.
So a hand job is...
in exchange for money.
Is that what they call an old-fashioned? They use the term an old-fashioned?
Good old American hand job.
Yeah, they call it an old... I heard it on South Park. They call it an old-fashioned. An old-fashioned.
I thought that was a drink.
No, that was... No, that's...
an old-fashioned? That's a drink.
No, there's... let's see. A cosmopolitan whiskey sour or an old-fashioned?
Yeah.
You might be right.
Yeah, I think so.
Those are some old drinks. Mint julep.
Mint julep.
Mint julep. I'll say now.
Lou and Kai pleaded guilty, but subsequently appealed their convictions.
They felt it was stress relief. It is part of Asian therapy that a man ejaculates, I think. It's part of stress relief.
Their conviction was initially affirmed by a trial court in June of 2010. And the two women then appealed to the State Superior Court's Appellate Division. Judges Joseph L. Yanati and Marianne Espinoza affirmed the conviction in a decision released Monday.
I'm sure Marianne Espinoza doesn't get much. You know, you always the people that always protest against sexuality in America, usually they're ugly as all hell, you know, or they're fat and they got their hair up in curlers, and they don't get laid much.
Well, both of the judges said that Lou and Kai's arguments were without merit.
Wait, they were defending two-ball hung Lou?
No.
Oh, they were reinforcing.
Their arguments were garbage.
Well, if you get caught with your hand in the cookie jar, so to speak, and it happens to be illegal, which is ridiculous, just like marijuana happens to be illegal in New Jersey, they don't have a leg to stand on. Hung Lou and the other one.
Yeah, well, then why are those laws still in effect?
Yeah, right.
These are religious laws.
That's right.
All prostitution laws are religious laws. That's their basis.
And I believe Larry Flint is very knowledgeable about these political issues too, right?
Well, obviously the laws have not been changed in the 50 states. So it doesn't matter how much knowledge you have about it. How do you get the laws changed?
What about Nevada, sir? What about Nevada? Nevada.
But only certain parts of Nevada. It's not the whole state.
No, it's anywhere outside of the city. Like if you're in the city of Las Vegas, you cannot. I mean, you can legally. Let me think. You can legally work out of a bordello, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you can't. Streetwalkers are not allowed. But outside of Nevada, all right. Finish up. How much more you got?
Not much. The trial court correctly found that manual arousal,
the old-fashioned,
clearly constitutes sexual conduct.
Hold on. Let me
the judges wrote.
Give a theatrical effect. Manual arousal.
Show and tell.
Waxing polishing the shillelagh. Show and tell. Manual arousal. That's oral or hand job.
Hand job.
Wasn't that an old song from the 50s? Hand job.
Yes.
Yeah, hand job. Da 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 da. Hand job. Da 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 da. Wasn't that a song?
Actually, it was hand jive.
I knew that. I was just playing with you. Little levity here at Progressive Discussions.
Very little. John Vincent Sekanak,
wise guy,
a lawyer for Lou, said that he hoped to take the case to the state Supreme Court.
Hand jive, hand job.
I really disagree with the decision, Sekanak said. If you read the statute, it's very, very vague.
What's his name? Satanic?
Satanic.
Satanic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Satanic argued in a supporting brief that Lou could not be convicted of behavior that was not specifically delineated in Garfield's municipal code.
Hung Lou.
Satanic also pointed to other municipal codes that offer detailed definitions and explanations for intimate parts and sexually gratifying actions, offering those codes as models for Garfield.
It's the most exciting thing that ever happened in Garfield in decades.
The ordinance affects everyone in Garfield,
Garbage field.
Satanic said. There was no happy ending here.
No happy, just a happy beginning, right?
Kurt J. Geisler, attorney for Kai, could not be reached on Monday for comment.
Oh, gee. Heaven forbid some guy should get whacked off and shoot his scum guppies up in the air. Big deal. What about all the atrocities going on in the United States?
It's different.
What about the poor who lost their homes and they're living in tents in the woods in Lakewood, New Jersey, and they want to evict them? What about the poor veterans living in tents in a hot, sweltering, humid in the woods in Florida, sweating their balls off, living in a tent? People that have put their lives on the line for a little pay in Iraq and Afghanistan are now not, and many of them sick and not being taken care of by the VA hospitals like they're supposed to, and they come back to the United States to find what? To find no home and no compassion, and they're living in tents. What about all this crap that's going on? What about the poor kids? You know, what about social programs being cut by big fat ogres like Christie? And
none of this equates to stopping people from having pleasure.
Stopping people from having pleasure, or they make a bigger stink, and no pun intended, of somebody lighting up a joint.
That too.
You know, trying to take edge off of life.
Speaking about your stuff that you were just going through there, I just saw a cartoon in the Progressive magazine of this gentleman walking down the street with his briefcase, obviously a Wall Street type, and he passes by the Occupy people, you know, who are holding signs, you know, and give us jobs, this, that, and the other thing, and he walks by the street, and there's this veteran there with his little basket or whatever to collect coins, and he's on crutches. He has one limb on him. He has one limb.
Yeah.
So the Wall Street guy goes walking by him and says, get a limb.
It's like, instead of saying get a job.
Well, that's what he said to the Occupy people.
Get a limb.
See? He says that get a job.
You know what?
Occupy people.
You know what?
He goes by the veteran and he says, get a limb.
Get a limb. Get a job. Get a limb. You know what I heard Wall Street fat cats in suits and ties say in front of a news camera in New York City? They said that the Occupy Wall Street protesters should occupy a desk and get a job.
Yeah,
instead of occupy.
That's their typical. They say that to the welfare people too. That's their typical comeback.
That's until they get laid off and lose their jobs.
Yeah. Well, everything changes then.
There's no job market out there. There's no jobs out there. Don't listen to the Republicans. There are no jobs out there. We're going to take a break because it's time for the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman's gastronomic delight and endeavor known as lunch, followed by high green tea, and we'll be back. Job. Give me that good hand job.
Hey, don't underrate a good hand job.
This is in regards to the newspaper article that he read before he received his lunch. All right, of course, I am James P. Madonna, your host for Progressive Discussions. My co-host and mentor, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman, is eating lunch, his gastronomic delight. Now, you know what's funny? One of the people the members of our Facebook page, famous female martial artist, personal trainer, and model, and also I think former Miss Galaxy, Erin Morgart, was ridiculing popular buffets like Golden Corral because I had made a comment about how do wealthy people keep from starving, because when if you go to all those very expensive, whatever they call them, gourmet fusion restaurants or whatever, the portions are microscopic. So how do they keep from starving? And I had a legitimate reason to put down those expensive restaurants, and because she posted something where she was bragging about a particular restaurant, because women they're impressed by a lot of superficial things, a lot of fluff. They're impressed by atmosphere and everything, and the ambiance and class and blah, blah, and all this bullshit. Me, I just want great quality food and lots of it. I want to chow down, man. I want to leave full. And there's no way I'm going to leave full if I go to one of those fancy gourmet fusion bullshit restaurants. And,
French one.
And she put down Golden Corral. I said, you know what? I've seen the Golden Corral commercials. I heard from friends that went to Golden Corral in Florida, in Orlando. They absolutely love it. I've never been there, but the commercials look great. And you know what? I would take the Golden Corral buffet over any fancy rip-off, restaurant that you would see, let's say, on the Food Channel. Oh, by the way, all those people on the Food Channel, if you listen to them, they're like snake oil salesmen. They take something and they exaggerate and play that violin and shovel that bullshit so much, they just make it much bigger than it is. They talk a lot of crap for people that make a lot of money, that they do, and they say things that the average person would say about the flavor, the texture. They don't they don't say anything highly intelligent when they describe a meal. They just describe it in a little bit of fancy words, but the meaning is very simple. I don't know how they. I guess a lot of them graduated from culinary school. Maybe they have a culinary background, except for maybe Paula Deen or Rachel Ray. They might be just regular folk. I know Paula Deen was a customer service representative for a bank, I think. She was discovered. She was a customer service rep.
She owns her own restaurants.
Well, now she does. Yeah. Now she can buy a whole, chain of restaurants. But so anyway, so she put down Golden Corral. You know what? I'll take a good family style buffet over any fancy restaurant. Actually, there's a place outside of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, called Cactus Willie's, I believe. And for like $9 for dinner, you have country farm fresh food in the buffet. You have all the steaks you can eat, like shell steaks. If you want mushrooms, sauteed onions and mushrooms on it, that's free. I mean, that's complimentary. That goes on the steak if you want. But the steaks, non-stop, all part of the buffet. Very reasonable. And the slogan for Cactus Willie's is, where the local people eat. Now I know why. I'd rather take Cactus Willie for $9 for dinner over some fancy restaurant that Bobby Flay is bragging about, or some Food Channel, people. But anyway.
What was that restaurant, the steakhouse? Was it Rustler or some other one?
Which one?
The big chain.
Most of them.
They had the buffet there. You get your New York strip or whatever. And you go to the buffet thing, and you got the chicken wings and or whatever. Garlic bread. I know all kinds of stuff.
I know the Brazilian Rodizio restaurant I go to locally, called the Green Grill, has a hot and cold buffet.
This was a chain.
A chain? Steakhouses?
First of all, there was the Rustler up at the Bergen Mall. There was the Bonanza, and then this chain.
You know how many years they've been out?
A lot.
And the Ground Round and all those places, they're out.
Now the Bonanza,
holy shit,
and the Rustler, I think they used to give you free soft serve at the end of the meal.
Not in this. They don't have them anymore in this area. I saw a Bonanza in Pennsylvania, but no, they're gone, man. They're gone. Steakhouses are a total ripoff now. You're lucky you get a buffet. The only thing close to a steakhouse would be the Brazilian Rodizio barbecue, where I go for lunch. It's only $10. They come to your table with a rotisserie spike with
cut off the
meat on it, and they have a round cutting board on the bottom. They come to your table and they say, "Would you like some skirt steak, or would you like some sirloin, or would you like some turkey breast wrapped in bacon?" Of course, I want some. Yeah, and they would push it down with the knife, or they would slice you a piece. Yeah, I'm using my shillelagh like it's a kebab, I mean, like it's a rotisserie skewer. And all the meats are on the rotisserie skewer over old-fashioned wood charcoal. So you get that delicious smoke flavor. And that's what they do. Hey, for lunch, you can't go wrong. $10. Then you have a hot and cold buffet. And you have the ice cream machine. Can't go wrong. I know how to find the good places, believe me. Me and Dr. Bill can do a food show very easily, but we don't have time. Now for a little promo. See this gentleman next to me? This is a self-portrait of my co-host and mentor, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman. You can see the William J. Eisenman collection by going to YouTube and typing in Megalife 21, William J. Eisenman collection, or you can see many of his paintings at newslettercensor.com. Or you can go to the William J. Eisenman Facebook profile. Nevertheless, fine watercolor paintings signed by William J. Eisenman himself. If you see something you like, send him an email. Find out if the painting is still available, and if it is, you can purchase one of his paintings with your gift, your generous gift. It usually starts at $500 each, the bidding, but make him a good offer. And if you make them a good offer, because these are original paintings, I would say you will get a free annual subscription for the year. Would that be fair?
Yeah.
If they made a good offer in the bidding?
Yeah.
All right, good. Now, really quick, this is the very backbone of our entire organization. Newsletter Censored, founded in 1977 by the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman, my co-host and mentor, William J. Eisenman, Ph.D. There's nothing like this in the mainstream media. You will never read anything like this in the mainstream media or the press. It contains the 5 taboos of American life, politics, health, religion, human sexuality, and child rearing. It is the kind of information that most people are afraid to hear. Can you handle it? So, the very best way to be a part of this organization is to get your free annual subscription to Newsletter Censored with your gift to support this work. Go to newslettercensored.com, click on the printable order form, and with your gift to support this work, get your free annual subscription. You need Newsletter Censored. We are living in the end times. You need Newsletter Censored to learn how to defeat a conservative. You need Newsletter Censored. Don't forget to check out Dr. Bill for President at newslettercensored.com. This is his 3rd time running for president as a progressive independent, and he will teach you how to write in a candidate. And also, we are proud of the fairly new, wonderfully convenient video playlist called Censored on Demand, Archive Classics and the God Project on Demand. Now you can go 24/7 and listen to any archived readings from Newsletter Censored.
at your leisure, and you can listen to them as many times as you want, because it's right online from our Mega Life 21 hard-hitting truth internet talk radio station. And it's at the right now it's at the Cyber Church of God, so it doesn't interfere with the radio show. Okay, they're both there. All right, now I just want to say something. Years ago, when I used to run a health food store, I used to speak to this gentleman. He's a fine man. He's been in the health and fitness and bodybuilding, exercise, nutritional industry for a long time now. This is a company that started in the early 1980s. It was the first supplement line of supplements I ever took when I started lifting weights. And this man is he's related to the famous fitness model Frank Seppi, close relative. I'm not sure if it was, I think it's his brother or his cousin. But anyway, Mr. Bob Seppi, the president and founder of Healthy and Fit company it's in New York. It started in the Bronx. I think it might be on Croton on the Hudson, New York. I'm not sure if he moved or not, but it's in New York. And the Vitamin Shop sells it. Actually, you could find this product online easily. And this is the very best overall value for people that are involved in strength training and weightlifting. For the money, and I know there's a lot of companies out there charging a lot of money and making big claims in the muscle magazines, but you don't see this in the muscle magazines because they don't pour all their money into, advertisement. They pour their money into research. They have a state-of-the-art research and development department, second to none. It is independently tested and assayed. This is the best value going, bar none, so far. Healthy and Fit, 100% whey pro amino. A whopping 45 grams of the finest whey protein in just 1 2-ounce scoop. It is sweetened with stevia, a natural sweetener. It does not affect blood sugar, and it has 0 calories. It mixes easily with a spoon or a shaker. You do not need a blender. And this is heavenly chocolate, and it has digestive enzymes, papain, bromelain, and like I said, it has a fantastic amino acid profile, the finest whey protein. Okay, 45 grams per 2 ounces. I think designer whey is like only 20 some odd grams per scoop. 23 or 24, I forget. But this is the best value for you young people out there, and even adults involved in strength training. Healthy and Fit. Check it out. Healthy and Fit Nutritionals. It's online, and get it if you work out. All right? Now, we go to the articles. To the articles. Oh, I'm sorry. As long as I'm up, I might as well make myself useful. Okay. Invigorating. The show is indeed invigorating. Oh, right. I can't get over that, huh? Newt Gingrich colonizing the moon. Gotta love him. He's got a moon-like face, doesn't he, Newt Gingrich? That round face with those double chins. Him and Christie.
He's got a sneaky face.
You know what? I bet Christie will make an excellent or outstanding vice presidential running mate for Newt Gingrich. If Newt Gingrich happens to slither, if the salamander happens to slither his way to become nominated in 2012. Him and Christie, they're both fat, they're both sarcastic, they're both sneaky, they're both, mean-spirited and greedy and stingy, and they have the same, genetic body shape, except Christie's a lot fatter. They'll be perfect together, like bookends.
Thanks to Mitt Romney and such well-known socialist intellectuals as Rick Perry and Newt Gingrich,
Yeah.
The United States is about to have the big debate on the nature of modern capitalism.
Is that the one that's going to be run by Donald Trump? MC'd or whatever?
No, this is the debate that's going on because of all of this, what the Republicans are putting out and what is being seen and contrasting to it and everything. So we're getting a picture of modern capitalism.
Oh, yeah. The evils... Is it the evils of modern capitalism?
Well, not the Republicans.
Excuse me. Yeah, not to the Republicans, sure.
Anyway, this should have started back in 2008. The focus will be on whether some kinds of capitalism are bad for the system as a whole. As a political matter, the discussion will be a classic test of an old Karl Rove theory that the best way to undercut an opponent is to attack him in his area of perceived strength. Romney's central claim is that his business experience prepares him to be the nation's great creator, job creator. That message runs into some difficulty if he is seen instead as a job destroyer. What if a certain class of capitalists makes scads of money, not by building up a company, but by tearing them down? What if there is a distinction between the capitalists we typically honor, who comes up with a good product and hires people to make and market it, and another kind who takes over a company, pulls out all the cash he can, and then abandons it to die? This is not the narrative of some Marxist intellectual writing in an obscure journal. It's how Perry, who last I checked was a rather ardent conservative, describes Romney's line of work. They're just vultures, Perry said.
Vulture capitalists?
They're vultures that are sitting out there on the tree limb waiting for the company to get sick. And then they swoop in and eat the carcass. They leave with that, and they leave the skeleton. My word, who knew how much of that old Texas populism had rubbed off on Perry? Somewhere, the late Molly Ivins, the Lone Star State's legendary populist scribe, is smiling in a people's heaven. The debate over capitalism is likely to be with us all year, because after Romney's New Hampshire triumph, it's truly difficult to construct a scenario that will deny him the Republican nomination. Give his strategists some credit. They saw an opportunity in Iowa and they took it, all the while preparing an impregnable citadel in New Hampshire, beginning with their decision to have Romney announce his candidacy late in June. Let no one begrudge him his margin of victory on Tuesday. It was huge and decisive. Romney's aides also repositioned him. Repositioned being one of his strong suits, just far enough to the right to find the center of an increasingly conservative Republican Party. Yet they also understood that an old conservative upper middle class can still anchor winning coalitions in GOP primaries as long as several more out there conservatives split up the rest of the vote. Thus, did exit polling find that Romney did best among voters earning more than $200,000 a year. Next best with the $100,000 to $200,000 category. He was weakest among those taking home less than $50,000 annually. Romney may well bewail the Obama economy, but he did far better among those who said they were getting ahead financially than with voters who see themselves falling behind. A privileged candidate sits atop a relatively privileged base. This is why Romney's defense of his work as a venture capitalist is one of the truly authentic parts of an otherwise heavily scripted campaign. He speaks with genuine passion when he accuses his conservative opponents of putting free enterprise on trial. But that goes to the heart of the matter. Free for whom? And under what circumstances?
There you go.
Capitalists of Romney's sort never want to acknowledge how much their ability to make money depends on what government does. How does it structure the laws related to property, taxation, and debt? What rules does it write on how companies can be acquired and how power within firms is apportioned among shareholders, employees, managers, and other stakeholders? These are not natural laws. They are the work of politicians and the lobbyists who influence them. Which leads to this observation from Mr. Gingrich. I think there's a real difference, he said, between people who believed in the free market and people who go around, take financial advantage, loot companies, leave behind broken families, broken towns, people on unemployment. Yes, there are different kinds of capitalism. Romney's victory speech suggested he hopes the campaign will be about whether President Obama wants to turn the United States into Europe. A more relevant discussion would be over what American capitalism is and should be. Thanks to Gingrich and Perry, this debate is now unavoidable.
Blah, blah, blah. The proof is in the pudding.
Vanilla or chocolate?
Well,
Tapioca
this is
butterscotch?
This is a pudding that is infused with fecal matter.
Ooh.
We're talking about the modern day American capitalism, because the only people that benefit from it are the fat cats, the top 1%.
Well, they're the ones who pay the lobbyists to influence the politicians, to make laws in their favor.
Yeah, I mean...
did you do it? I didn't do it.
Everything associated with the so-called possibly mythical American dream is all for the rich. The middle class and the poor never see these benefits, unless it reverts back to the original America, where everybody has a chance, and they make it attractive for the little guy to start a small business without any tax burden or without any.
He don't worry about tax burden because he ain't got no money yet to start up the business.
Yeah, I mean, like
he's got to go beg that money from somebody.
Acquiring an expensive permit. Just to have a little push cart with an umbrella sticking out of it. Make it easy like the old days.
That's something that the big boys had put in place to protect against competition.
Well, there you go. They don't like competition.
If you got a restaurant down there on Bleecker Street or whatever, and somebody wants to put a hot dog push cart outside, they ain't gonna like that too much.
No, well, what if it's about a block away? They don't like it either.
Even so, they don't want to share their wealth with anybody.
No, well then the free enterprise system is not
free.
Capitalism is only for the rich. There you go. Proof is in the pudding.
Have you been hearing stories that the ancient Maya predicted the world would end this year?
Yeah, the end of the Mayan calendar. And the Hopi Indians predicted the same thing, and as well as other civilizations.
Don't worry. They did no such thing.
You think somebody is capitalizing on the hysteria, on the panic?
The 2012 prophecies are just made-up stories.
This is a conspiracy theory, right?
The Maya,
obviously,
had an advanced civilization in the area of Mexico and Central America about 2,000 years ago. They were astronomers who developed an incredible calendar to keep track of events over many thousands of years.
That's right. The Incas too were advanced. That's true. That is true.
It just so happens that this calendar begins a new cycle in 2012. as our calendar did in the year 2000. People are having fun saying this means the end of the world, but it just means that the calendar passed a milestone. We talked with Dr. Carolyn Sumners at the Houston Museum of Natural Science to learn more about the real story. The Maya developed one of the most complex civilizations of the ancient world. They were astronomers with an advanced system of writing. Unlike many other ancient people, they developed in isolation or away from other civilizations.
And of course, the European colonists call them savages, which is probably where the Republicans get their racism from. European colonization.
Part of it.
Imperialism.
Because the first thing you do to your enemy is to degrade him, to make him subhuman.
Because they're different. They were different.
Remember the Planet of the Apes?
Yeah.
What they did to the humans?
Yeah.
How they thought about the humans?
Well, the Mayans were very different from the Europeans, so anybody who's different to these arrogant people, self-righteous, arrogant people, are no good. So they called them savages because they had dark skin and they were different. They had different civilization. Meanwhile, they were very advanced, many ways superior to the Europeans. You know, and same thing with the Chinese. They had racism towards the Asians back then too by Europeans. And the Asians, the Chinese have an 8,000-year-old civilization with many advancements superior to Europe.
Gunpowder.
Oh, gunpowder is just a fragment of what the Chinese accomplished. Noodles, again, a fraction of what the Chinese have accomplished. There's a lot more than gunpowder and noodles. You know, of course, the Europeans took the gunpowder and instead of, and thought of using it for war, so they can.
Yes, see, human beings have been doing that for thousands of years, taking something good or neutral and turning it into something bad.
To a weapon, so they can possibly
utilizing the gateway of life.
So they can by extortion steal somebody's country away from them and invade.
Something like that.
Which is what the Europeans did back then, how they screwed the Native Americans. Anyway, continue.
Other ancient cultures, such as the Egyptians and Greeks, learned a lot from other people. The Maya had to discover all on their own. They built great structures without metal tools, beasts or vehicles with wheels, such as carts. The Maya built great pyramids that were lined up to follow the movements of the sun. For example, on the shortest day of the year, or the winter solstice, the sun rose at a certain spot over a pyramid temple. Priests knew that from that day forward the sun would rise a bit to the north each day. When the sun finally rose directly to the north of the pyramid, the rains would come. Other pyramids were lined up with the setting sun. They were all built to predict the rains. The pyramid at Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza.
Chichen Itza.
I thought it was another one of them chicken places.
Yeah, you're still thinking about fried chicken?
Kenny Rogers chicken.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You remember what Kenny Rogers used to say? It's the wood that makes it good. Remember that? That was his slogan.
Who's eating the wood? The chicken?
No, they're talking about the wood used to
cook it.
To cook the chicken.
Roasted.
The wood charcoal.
Yeah, but his chicken was roasted, right?
No, it was rotisseried.
Oh, rotisserie.
Over wood.
Okay.
Natural wood charcoal, so it got the smoky.
I never had it.
Smokiness. Excuse me. It was marinated to perfection with a citrusy lime juice flavored marinade.
Oh, it wasn't Old Bay seasoning?
No. Which is loaded with salt, by the way. Old Bay seasoning. No, it was
Well, the Philippine barbecue, their marinade has lime juice. People of the tropics, the Cubans have the mojo. Let me tell you, lime juice and meat, it goes perfect together. I guess the acid from the lime helps, you know, tenderize.
You put the lime in the coconut and stir it all up. You put the lime in the coconut, stir it all up.
Is that what Two Ball Hung Low said in the massage parlor?
No. She said, "You want the hand job? You want the hand job?
You want hand job? Fucky sucky?"
And the police say, "No, I put a handcuff on your hand."
Handcuff?
Handcuff.
Handcuff? Fucky sucky? They remember, they love you. They rub you.
More.
They rub you wrong time.
Wrong time. You want my sister?
Ah, so they rub you wrong time. Okay.
Anyway,
continuing with the mine.
At
the lime in the
Kenny Rogers chicken.
All right, Chichen Itza. Chichen Itza. It is an ancient, in Yucatan Peninsula. It is inland. It is in the center of the Yucatan Peninsula.
Anyway,
it's a Mayan city. Tulum. I've been to Tulum, by the way, which is on the coast. It's on the Caribbean.
It was built for the serpent god Kukulkan.
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 In Cancun, they named a shopping mall after that. Kukulkan.
Snake Mall.
Yeah. Kukulkan Plaza, it's called.
The Maya believed that when he returned, each spring his tail raised the winds and swept the earth clean before the coming rains.
Now, who was
Quetzalcoatl
was their #1 god, right?
No, that was the Incas.
No. Quetzalcoatl was Mayan or Aztec. Hold on. Uno momento. Esmeralda. Quetzalcoatl was Billy's trying to say Quetzalcoatl was Incan. Is Mayan or Aztec, right? Mayan. Quetzalcoatl was one of their top gods, right? Yes. No, it wasn't Inca. It was Mayan.
In this place of art, a Mayan priest faces the sunrise on the top of the pyramid at the ancient city of Tikal. The pyramid at Mayan cities towered above the rainforest. They were built as observatories to tell the date from the position of the sun. From the top of the pyramids, priests could also map the motions of Venus. Venus was even more important to the Maya than the sun for predicting rainfall. They thought Venus was really their god, Kukulkan.
Yeah, so explains a lot, man.
The Maya recorded important history and predictions in books on buildings. Unfortunately, when the Spanish discovered the Maya's abandoned cities, they burned most of the books.
Sounds familiar to you? It's the Spanish Inquisition, didn't they do that? Burn books?
Much of what we know is from writing on buildings. One of 3 surviving books is the Dresden Codex. It's an ancient book manuscript, a picture of a giant monster with sky symbols on its body is on the last page of the Dresden Codex. Water is gushing from its mouth. Some people think this picture is a prophecy of the end of the world by a great flood or a hurricane. In the area where the Maya lived, there were few rivers or natural lakes to collect water above ground. If rains did not come, people suffered. Priests who could predict rainfall had a lot of power. Kings built pyramids and temples to beg the gods to bring rain. The Maya
of Chichen Itza built an observatory to watch their serpent god, Kukulkan, who appeared in the skies as the planet Venus. His appearances were tied to the rains. When spring constellations appeared in the sky, it looked as if Kukulkan was coiled to strike. Then the Maya offered him sacrifices so he'd send rain. The most valuable thing they had to offer was human blood.
Human sacrifices. Not animal sacrifices. That's...
So they sacrificed or killed people for him.
Took the heart out. Yeah.
The most prized blood was royal blood. Kings and queens cut themselves, catching the blood on paper and burning it as an offering.
Well, it's better than killing a human being.
The Maya cut down thousands of trees to burn in ovens to make a special coating for the pyramids. They also cut down rainforests to create more farmland for their growing population. Now you know why they disappeared? They destroyed their environment. It no longer became sustainable.
Sounds like modern man.
Yeah.
So instead of doing what other native people around the world do and living, coexisting in harmony with nature, with the planet, in a cycle, in a cycle, they did what modern man does with corporate globalization.
If you run out of trees, you move somewhere else.
Yeah, until you have. Yeah, well, you can't.
It's like the answer to pollution is dilution. So just throw it all in the ocean.
Yeah, but it's like a checking account. You keep on debiting, man. You're gonna have zero. You're gonna have goose eggs. Where are you gonna move to when it all runs out?
Hey, they don't think that far ahead.
They don't think that far ahead. They don't think that far. Just like about, the true consumer is the little guy. But if the little guy can't find a job because there are no jobs in America, then the little guy won't have surplus cash to buy their products. So where do they find their customers from when the little guy, when all the little people are broke?
They'll go overseas.
They go overseas?
Yeah, that's what they're doing now.
Okay, and who's got that kind of money?
Corporations. That's what they do.
I mean the consumers.
Oh, forget about the consumers. They want the consumers in Europe. They want the consumers in China. They want the consumers in Asia.
Dubai.
They don't care about the American consumer anymore.
Dubai.
So, Dubai.
No, Dubai is a very. Dubai is very wealthy, oil rich. I think it's part of.
Yeah, but how much stuff can you sell to one country?
The United Arab Emirates. I think it might be. Anyway, it's very wealthy, like Kuwait. It's not far away. Relatively speaking.
Once the trees were cut down, rain patterns changed, and Mayan cities were in more danger from drought. At the height of their civilization, the Maya faced the worst drought in thousands of years. People starved. Within 100 years, the Maya abandoned their wonderful cities and moved back into the rainforests. By the time the Spanish arrived hundreds of years later, the Mayan cities were long abandoned and overgrown. The Mayans were not even able to predict the end of their own civilization, much less the end of the world.
Well, diseases like smallpox brought over by the Spanish conquistadors did not help the situation, of course.
Well, they weren't there when they came.
And the genocide, that's right, the Aztecs took the place of the Mayans. That's true.
The Mayans were gone.
Mayans were gone. Now, this explains a lot. The Mayans were not just in the Yucatan Peninsula. They were throughout Central America, as well as, Mexico. They had a sort of an empire.
Yeah, well, it got destroyed. The Maya used a system of 20 to count. This number was based on the number of fingers and toes people have. We base our number system on 10. Mayan calendars were also based on the number 20. The Maya used 2 different calendars throughout the year. One calendar gave the times to perform rituals. Today, this kind of calendar could help us keep track of events like planting and harvesting crops. The Mayan ritual calendar covered 260 days. It was made up of 13 numbers and 20 names. Their second calendar was a year-long calendar made up of 365 days. It was divided into 18 months of 20 days each. The Maya added 5 extra days to finish off the year. The Maya used this calendar to help them keep track of events like birthdays and holidays. Much like we divide our calendars into days, years, and centuries, the Maya had their own time periods. A kin is 1 day. A winnow was 20 days. A tune was nearly a year. Katun, almost 20 years. And Baktun, just over 394 years. The Maya celebrated the beginning of Katuns and Baktuns. The Maya recorded long periods of time in a long count calendar. They used the long count to tell about their history and to tell about the future. Altogether, the current long count calendar covers more than 5,000 years, ending in
the end of December 2012?
2012. The Maya used this long count to describe when kings ruled or great battles were fought. They did not try to predict the end of the world. The Maya joined their 2 short calendars to form a third calendar that went about 52 years. It was designed to cover one person's lifetime. The 2 calendars worked together with a kind of gear system. This new calendar was called the calendar round. As I've seen that in action, it revolves and things within it revolve and change. Yeah.
Well, the Mayan...
Very complicated for primitive people, savages.
Yeah, you hear that? And there were also, you know, the native people, the Aborigines, were definitely not as primitive as the Europeans made them out to be. Africans, there were empires in Africa, ancient empires. You know, they had things going on there too. I mean, just because people look different to the Europeans, they automatically put them down, you know, because they live differently. And but you know, there are still many undiscovered Mayan pyramids in the jungles of Central America.
They just found a whole bunch of new species.
What do you mean?
The cowboy frog was one of them.
Oh, you mean we're
also a armored type of catfish.
We're talking about we're on a new article.
No, we're not on that article. I've seen it on TV the other day.
Oh yeah, they're always discovering new species. I think there's a purple, or literally a beautiful, rich purple frog from northern India that was discovered too. That has a real funny looking pointy face and a strange sound. I mean, it's amazing how, unfortunately, certain species became extinct, but then again, they keep on discovering new species, and they discover species that were thought to be extinct, like that fish they caught in the Indian Ocean that time, that prehistoric fish. And you read that article a long time ago on one of the past progressive discussions. But getting back to finalize the Mayan article, which
wait a minute, I'm not finished with it.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
There's more to go here. The last New Year's Day in human history has come and gone. You may not believe so, but millions do. They're convinced that ancient Maya priests calculated December 21, 2012 as the end of the world, as we know it. These claims and warnings, prognostications and reassurances are on bookstore shelves, on websites, in museum exhibits, in tourist promotions. The global doomsday industry even has a name, 2012ology.
Oh, gosh.
Apocalyptic anxiety is, if anything, reassuringly familiar.
Documentaries on the History Channel. Ooh.
This most recent phenomenon taps into a well-established tradition in our society. Just this past year, religious broadcaster Harold Camping,
old Dumbo ears himself, the walking mummy,
took 2 swings at predicting doomsday, pinpointing one date in May, and when the world emerged unscathed, he predicted another one in October.
And people keep on sending him money. He's wrong every time, and he keeps on, pushing ahead his prediction, and people keep on supporting him. The right-wing fundamentalist religious nuts, gotta love him. And 2012 motion picture industry, that they made they made a lot of apocalyptic movies. One of them called 2012.
Yeah.
That's right.
What makes 2012ology different is the starring role it gives to the ancient Maya. Among numerous native cultures in the Americas, the Maya seem to have captured the popular imagination. They are cast as a mysteriously wise civilization, one that disappeared into the tropical forests of Central America, taking with it a sacred knowledge that has only recently started coming to light. Although the disaster flick 2012, early to the game in 2009, featured no Maya priests and portrayed largely tongue-in-cheek science, its promotional tagline succinctly captured the assumptions underlying 2012ology. First, the Mayan calendar predicted it. Now science has confirmed it. The only problem is the ancient Maya predicted no such thing, nor has anything been confirmed by science. During the heyday of their civilization, circa AD 250 to 900, the Maya produced thousands of artworks and hieroglyphic texts, a dazzling legacy of literature and learning, art and architecture. But they weren't preoccupied with apocalypse. Maya creation mythology recorded tales of a past world, but it did not detail how and when the current world would end, or even if it actually would. Instead, the Maya appear to have been particularly fascinated with recreation, as it figured prominently in myth and in ritual performance. The Maya perceived time as a complex set of infinite cycles, not a clock ticking toward doomsday. One of these cycles, known by scholars as the Maya long count, consisted of more than 5,000 years. In our calendrical system, it began in August 3114 BC and is due to end December 21, 2012. Or in Maya numerology, 13.0.0.0.0. But there is nothing to suggest that the Maya thought this date would be the world's last. If anything, they might have worried a bit about the roundness of the number, like we did about Y2K.
That's right. I remember that. Remember that? Y2K?
Yeah. But 13.0.0.0.0.0.3 was not the end. If the evidence for Maya doomsday predictions is so flimsy, if the impending Maya apocalypse is mere myth, then why are so many people so willing to believe it is true? Why do some seem to want December 21 to be the long-awaited end of the world as we know it? One explanation is the persistent power of ancient wisdom. All societies are drawn to knowledge that seems time-worn, mysterious, coded, and to the magic of its decoding. That is partly why the Da Vinci Code has sold 100 million copies.
Yeah, the story about the sacred holy bloodline from Mary Magdalene.
The myth.
Mary Magdalene.
The myth.
That Jesus supposedly
has sold 100 million.
Had offspring with Mary Magdalene, and they were sneaked out of Israel and brought to France.
Why people listen to Camping's predictions about Judgment Day, and even in a sense why billions are attracted to religion. That is also why we are drawn to ancient civilizations whose knowledge has been buried, literally, for hundreds or thousands of years. A century ago, ancient Egypt was in the limelight, as archaeologists excavated the tombs of the pharaohs.
And all the companies that deal with mysticism and New Age and the occult were selling pyramid this and pyramid that, and pyramids that you can actually sit under, and meditate, or gain healing power from.
In recent decades, the Maya have taken a star turn, as more of their ancient cities in Mexico and Central America have been unearthed and their hieroglyphic texts deciphered. Another explanation lies deep within our own Western civilization and religious traditions, which include teachings about the end of the world. In stark contrast to the Maya, medieval Europeans generated a vast body of literature and artwork predicting and describing the world's end.
Nostradamus.
Nobody questioned that it would come. The issue was how and when. A final explanation lies in the comfort of belief, in the security of taking a leap of faith. What evidence exists or does not for Maya predictions, biblical prophecies, and astronomical prognostications is less important than what we simply choose to believe. In the end, for some, 2012 is a matter of faith. But this doesn't need to be disquieting. There is an upbeat tendency emerging even among hardcore believers in 2012 ology. They see the end as a wonderful new and better world. Let's hope that those optimistic 2012ologists are right, and that the ancient Maya, who most likely saw December 21, 2012 as little more than a massive New Year's celebration, were wrong.
When the moon is in the seventh house and Jupiter aligns with Mars, the age of Aquarius. Remember that song?
Yeah, the age of Aquarius went bye-bye, didn't it?
No, hasn't arrived yet. The fifth dimension. The age
what do you mean it hasn't arrived? What about the 60s and the 70s?
No, that was the song, the age of Aquarius.
Of course, because they were singing about it at that time.
Let me tell you something. The actual age of Aquarius, we are about to enter it very soon. I don't know exactly when, but they were singing about there's an actual age of...
50 years ago.
They knew it was coming. They knew what it represented back then in the 60s. All the flower children, man.
Yeah, so
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
I can dig it, man. I was a flower child.
Listen, I know you were...
I had the flowers in my head.
I know you were a flower child. But it's coming soon, and it represents, I guess, a total new... earth and universe, a total new way of life, a rebirth of something. Anybody who knows the details of the age of Aquarius,
please. This is another belief. This is astrology.
Please email us. Don't listen. As getting back to 2012, the Reverend Dr. William J. Eisenman has told me many times. In other words, before the Great Tribulation, a series of events must take place in this planet Earth, on this planet Earth, before the Great Tribulation takes place. Those events...
And before Jesus comes back.
And before the second coming of Jesus Christ. And those events have not taken place yet.
Yeah.
So to, to say that December 21st, 2012 is the end,
not biblically.
Is not biblically. No, not biblically.
And just one of those events, just one, is prophesied to take 42 months, 3.5 years, and that's the reign of the beast.
Right. Now, what about the planets that are supposed to align at the end of 2012 and cause a possible shift in the poles?
I think the poles are shifting now. It's called global warming, no? Climate change.
The melting.
That happens every 15,000 years or so.
The melting of the pole of the Arctic and the habitat of the polar bear being destroyed.
Once upon a time.
Being destroyed, yeah.
Once upon a time, the United States, from those, is that the Midwest? Montana and North Dakota, South Dakota, all of those. That was an ice sheet at one time.
Ice Age.
All the way down.
Ice Age.
Ice Age.
Well, during prehistoric times, the Arctic area was a lush, hot, tropical region.
Yes, they say that the Earth, the poles switched.
You know what they found in the northern Arctic coast of Canada? I think it's called the primordial period, where fish first came on land like amphibians. The very first fish to leave the waters and become amphibious prehistoric creatures. They found many skeletons and fossils of these very fish, because at that time you had one giant continent, they called it Pangea, where all the continents were joined together before the tectonic shifted and before the continents drifted apart.
Yeah.
And the world was very different, of course.
And then, of course, mythologically, you have the two Atlantis
and the Mu continent.
And the Mu continent, yeah.
The mythical continents.
And what happened to Atlantis?
According to the legend, some feel it was an island, a volcanic island that sunk in the Mediterranean. Was it Plato that first spoke of Atlantis?
Actually, I heard it wasn't. It sunk in the triangle.
Yes. Well,
Florida,
later on, certain people, psychics, Edgar Casey, Jeannie Dixon, whatever, they have mentioned that Atlantis was a continent in the Atlantic Ocean, and they had a very, very advanced civilization.
Yeah, all these advanced civilizations end up dead.
Same thing with the Mu continent. Advanced civilization turned evil, wicked, and corrupt. They destroyed themselves. The continent was sunk, and that's why you have pyramids in Egypt and in the Mayan area in the Americas, because they claim that the Egyptians and the Mayans and whatever Incas, well, Aztecs possibly also, all were originally Atlanteans. This is the theory behind that. But and then you listen to von Däniken in Chariots of the Gods, and of course they don't believe in anything in the Bible. They feel that angels and God were really extraterrestrials helping out primitive man,
not spiritual beings. Yeah.
Right.
Well, it is very, very intriguing. You cannot write, draw, or some way depict, unless you're above it, some of those pictograms that are on the ground.
In Peru, Nazcar.
Right. Yeah.
You can only see it from a plane or a helicopter.
Yeah. How could you do that on the ground?
Football fields long. How could you draw it? And what about the carvings in Mesoamerica and I think also in Peru, and of people that look like they're wearing a spacesuit in a spacecraft.
Yeah. Space helmets.
Yeah. In Bolivia, you have the oldest ruins on the planet, like 10 or 15,000 years old, really ancient.
And the stones are, each stone weighs many tons, and it's so perfectly aligned, the stones, that you cannot even fit a razor in between them. I mean, how could a primitive, supposedly savage a people do such things? I mean, the Incas had scalpels. They performed precision brain surgery with scalpels equal to the scalpels we have today with modern medicine. But the Europeans call them savages. Interesting. That plus the calendar, plus the astronomy and the science. Anyway, thank you for joining us for this week's Progressive Discussions. We've been very busy this week. We banged out 2 progressive discussions in 1 week. And this is the 104th, I believe, the 104th progressive discussions that you just witnessed. Amazing. Take care. Say so long to these people.
So long, these people.